Hello and welcome. My name is Joelle and I am the Viberarian. I'm here to elevate, enlighten, and empower. I'm doing this for myself, but when I come on here, it is in the hopes that when I share with you, you too will also elevate, enlighten, and empower for your journey as well. We're doing this together, people. So I am here. This is the first of this episode, this kind of format and show. So I'm going to give it just a moment here to get going. And let me look in my chat room here. All right. Excellent. So this is going to be all about books. Of course, as you can see here, and if you might have seen from the promo, I am going to be focusing this time here on my channel to talk all things books and the written word. So as we're getting warmed up, this is just the very first one. So it's going to be a free for all. And if you're in the chat, please let me know you're there. Hello, Jacqueline. Thank you. I'm realizing as I'm starting this that I actually do not have my right readers on. Of course, I have multiple pair of glasses. And so this is going to be real interesting here. So when you try to read, I might be having to hold my book out here. So as I said, this is all about all things books. And I will say, let me start from the beginning and say I am also going to be doing ebooks. And I have to say, as a book lover, a traditionalist, I understand if you have a certain feeling about ebook format, but we're going to just cover any way that people might be reading rather than focus on whether it's digital or not. I do have to say I had to get over my own feelings. I was very resistant to ebooks, but you just can't beat the convenience for the amount of information. You've got a whole library electronically. So anyway, I have books upon books and upon books. By a little bit of background, I'm actually a librarian in my other world, if you want to call it my 3D world. I'm a librarian. That means I have a master's degree in library science. Now, I'm not a librarian who you would see at the public library. I've worked in private environments such as law firms most of my career. But of course, I'm an avid reader, a lover of information, and it was a perfect career choice for me. And I've had just a wonderful time serving up information to people in any context. So on this show, we're going to focus on any kind of book that you want to suggest. I'll be pulling things from my collection. And it's not all going to be just metaphysics or any particular thing. So anything, put it in the chat. If you're an author, please put your book down there and we will check it out and see. And don't you like that? Check it out. Right. So I am really all about library, and libraries serve as a place for us to inform ourselves. It's really an ancient way of service. There were the priests and priestesses who were in charge of keeping the scrolls or creating the written traditions and then giving access to that. And many, many times those things such as the written word were restricted from us, from the common people, or from larger distribution. And librarians, in the way that I serve, is to always bring the broadest amount of information out to people. So I'm just delighted to be able to do that here. And if you'll notice across all of my channel and my presence, the Viberarian is the way that I am showing up. It was like given to me to embody that frequency of being a vibrational information connector. And so the Viberary is my information resource center. So you can come and find out anything that you would like. You can talk to people, you can read stories, read books, listen to podcasts, listen to other experts teach. That is really what this channel space is about. So Reads and Seeds on Sundays is going to be my time to focus on the thing that we love. Now, if you saw the promo at all, you probably saw a lot of books that I put the jackets out. I teased a little bit about it. Today, I'm going to just give you a real quick overview about some of the things that I will be diving into on future episodes. And we're going to be all over the place. These are timeless. So hopefully, if you see a title on the book that is on the episode, when it catches your interest, let me know that you've read it or you caught it. This is going to be an ongoing kind of discussion as we continue to expand the books on our shelves. And of course, who doesn't love a good recommendation? Okay, so thank you to everyone who's showing up. I appreciate you all here saying hello to the chat. Excuse me, the moderators. All right. So, excuse me, I also have my coffee on hand. I hope you have a warm beverage or something comfy. It's great to curl up on a Sunday with a good book, okay? So, I'm going to just tease out a few things. First of all, the way that books come into my life always has some kind of story, which is awesome. I enjoy that because there's a story for the story. But 4 of the books that I am going to cover at different times in the future are actually, the story is that I know the people who wrote these books. And I've had conversations with them on my channel before on different shows and under different circumstances. But at this point, I am going to reintroduce you to them and hopefully be able to arrange to follow up with them to see where they are on their journey since they published this book. These particular items. Some of my connections with these people have been like 4 years ago, 3, 4, 5 years ago. When I was doing my other podcast. So, and actually I see Dr. Tracy is in the chat. Hey, Tracy, good to see you. Now, she is the author of this book here, Broken Open, A Truthful Journey into Your Heart. And I've spoken with her about this book and how her experience led her to write it. I'll put the link to that in the show notes below. And we are going to have her on, of course, for a future episode, right? So let me say hello here and put you in the, hey. All right. Thank you. Okay. We also have Jackie in the chat. Wonderful. Great to see you both. Okay. So the other books that I have here are Love Yourself First, 7 Steps to Finding and Healing the Real You by Carolyn Munden. Focus by Misty Oaks Paxton. I love this book. I did a whole Focus series with her based off this book. Last year, it was very fruitful. I had a great year. And then, of course, Habits for Success, Inspired Ideas to Help You Soar by G. Brian Benson. He is wonderful. He's got a podcast now. I think this is his second podcast since we talked on the show. So, and I think he RV'd across America since then, and also just kind of went through many transformations. So I hope we can check in with him again. So it's beautiful because at one point in our time, we could not access this kind of quality presentation. Many people have a message, and these are a way. It's accessible. It's not that it's easy, because I know what each of these people went through, putting in the effort to self-publish and also be published by a small print publisher. So one of the things that we'll do as we talk with these is also speak with authors who've had a variety of experiences, from using Amazon ebooks, selling their products, or trying to distribute their message to a broader audience. That's going to be part of our conversation here, because as book purchasers, we are the audience for which people are hoping to reach when they're taking the time to pull out these words and messages for us through this labor of love. So again, all things booked. All right. So here are just a few. We're not going to have any particular schedule or focus, but I will inform you before everyone with what we're going to be talking about. There is no read along unless you want to, and I will be reading excerpts from some of the items that I have. So just a few other things like we can look for. Miracles in the Messenger. I met the author of this book, Kristen, at a Apple Annie at the craft fair, and she is an artist, which I have a piece of her art now in my home. And then this book, which I have actually only read a few of the poems that she wrote in here, so I'm going to approach that. For example, here's another: How to Co-Create Using the Secret Language of the Universe, Using Astrology for Your Empowerment. This is by Pam Gregory. I follow her on her YouTube channel, and she does the astrology for the moon cycles. Very, very interesting. We're going to get into that. All right. Here is Unified Creator Spirituality, a new spiritual paradigm for humanity. Now, the co-author of this, Rana Vazane, I love her. I love her. I love her. Her energy, and she does things with a soul brother named Randall Monk. They are bringing forth just this beautiful, heartfelt messages. And so this is one of her many, many books. And so we're going to tap in and probably read some passages from her as well. And similarly, I don't know if I pulled it. I think I featured it on my other. There's another similar book about like the new paradigm, kind of like a new consciousness teaching and structure. So, okay, we've also got this fiction book. This is How You Lose the Time War. This is a fascinating story that I read. Now, I read all genres, but this one, it was very interesting, the story behind it, because it had been out for a while. And then somebody tweeted that everybody needed to read this. And it was kind of a quirky message. And whatever happened, it lit up. And this book rose to the top of the chart. Like, and the person wrote the author wrote like a letter to the internet, like, whoever you were, thank you. Like, it kind of surprised me all of a sudden. So we're going to get into the story of that, the backstory again. It was a very clever and intricate story. So of course, I do not have the 3-Body Problem in print, but I have it on my Kindle. I finished reading book 1. And I'm partway through book 2, The Dark Forest. And if you want to know what that's all about, I believe there is a Netflix show that's really hot at this time that is a version of the book. I didn't watch it. I don't plan to. I want to go for the original because it was written a few decades ago. And the fact that it's timely now is very, very interesting. All right. So a few weeks ago, I was up at Holistic Health and Wellness, where I do readings once a month. And while I was there, this young gentleman came in and brought his books that he's written. Dwayne White, but I think he goes by Gayandi now. If I did not get that right, brother, please let me know. I am going to have him on because he is young and vibrant, and he brought back these books for me to check out: Vanishing into Deep Bliss and Discover the Self, My Brush with Infinity. And this is about his awakening, his journey. For him being so young, he really is an old soul. So we're going to get into that and have him on to talk as well. All right. Now, of course, being a Viberarian, I have reference materials, and those are the places where a reference, that's when you go in the library and you ask a question. I need to know the definition of monosucralose, okay? It's not going to be in Webster's dictionary. It's going to be in a science dictionary. Those kind of things are what the librarian helps you to find. And we have our encyclopedias, our dictionaries, our informational sources. And of course, I have a collection or series collection, of these types of resources. These are kind of catch-alls, like, okay, the complete book of Reiki, talks about the different symbols and positions. Tarot. What is the Hermit? What is the archetype of the nine? Oh, we've got the Nine of Swords. A cloistered nun suffers insomnia. Like, so it's very interesting because information goes into our hopper and then we kind of assess it, we read it, it sparks our imagination, our own thought, our curiosity and exploration, and then we derive our answer out of that. So I would never like look at one of these books or any books and say this is the absolute concept that should be received by you as truth. It's just words brought through individuals out, and it can just be part of your spectrum of resources that you use to navigate your life. So, I mean, this is interesting. The complete book of North American folk magic. So they're talking about from different parts of the country, from Appalachia to the Deep South, what kinds of traditions there were, what the different mythologies, like, you know, if a rooster crowed 3 times, like you can look up and see which culture these kinds of things come from. So we're going to pick some interesting things and learn about from there as well. This book was gifted to me by a sister who it came to her in the most random rural place, and she knew it was to come to me. And so here we have this book exploring the old world, like the mud flood and the Tartarian, the evidence of a Tartarian civilization. So I'm definitely going to get my reader set up so that we can look at the pages of this. And okay, here's another great example. This was actually referred to me by Dr. Tracy, who swore by this book in terms of its value in her working and using it as a tool for her life. And she was able to demonstrate to me how she used this information. And then also I received a reading with her where she helped me learn how to calculate. And I went and I got a used copy on Amazon, like a first, earlier edition. I love it. I use it often. I'm nowhere near as, oh, here's my little notes, my notes from her that she jotted for me. So thank you, Dr. Tracy. But in this is talking about how you can look at the paths of life in a numerical fashion. So for those people who are interested, we're going to talk about that. And this is another book that the metaphysician, the metaphysicians among us are always referring to interesting books. Beyond Duality, The Art of Transcendence. Travel to the source of all magic, new techniques to turn your desires into realities, liberating and mind expanding. It was very interesting. I read that. Now, I'm also working through these. Some of these are books that I'm working through in pieces and parts because they're dense teachings. Womb Awakening. I've got 2 books by this particular couple, the Magdalene Mysteries, which is checked out to somebody right now. If you're my friend that has this book, whoever you might be in my circle, I forget who I lent it to, send it home, please. So, okay. Now, 2 of my most recent books that we are definitely going to get into. I think I'm going to do this next week, probably one of them. All right, because right now there's 4 books in this series. I have 2 of them. All right, now let me pause here for the cause for just a moment. Yes, those were great recommendations. Thank you so much. All right, so these beauties right here are probably my most substantive in terms of weight, literal, and thickness in my collection at this time. Now, a word about my collection. At one point in time, I had probably 400 books easily. Because when I believe that when you get a book, you keep a book. So I was a true book collector and librarian. But at a certain point in my life, I started like picking up, and I moved to Mexico, and I could not take a ton of books anywhere. So I started trying to give the books a good home. And it was more challenging than what you might think. You can't just like donate book places. But it was kind of like a grieving process for me as I shed it, but I had to do the kind of Marie Kondo, which was, it brought me joy at the time, but am I going to reread it? If I'm not going to reread it, then holding on to it is not serving me. So I went through my collection with that idea, and I still have a heavy amount that my movers don't appreciate, I'm sure, but it's much more of a usable book collection rather than a acquiring book collection. And that works for me. That's not to say that I don't have books in here that I've already read, or some that I might not even get to with time permitting, but it's just the whole you need to keep it and not waste it feeling. I had to kind of work through my frequency in that. And a lot of my librarian and book loving friends have had to go through the same weeding exercise. So, but things like this will not be weeded. They will go somewhere to somebody who will use them going forward, because this is this is like the old encyclopedias we used to get. Then the salesman used to come around door to door, and your family would pay for it for 2 years. This is that kind of book. Thankfully, there's only 4 of them, and they are not that expensive. I will tell you, I am not an Amazon affiliate. I have, some challenges with that idea. So when I make recommendations, I'm not getting any benefit from it. I'm not putting a link to it in there. You can definitely go find the best source to get it. I will tell you that I paid $30 for, these are about $30, $31 a volume, which for the size, weight, and quality of this book is amazing. Now, this series, look at these 2 beautiful, beautiful books. All right. This is just amazing. So we are going to get into this just a little bit so I can give you a teaser about next time. So this is like a collection of fine art related to astrology, and they have researched each of these things and why they selected them. Like Venus, look at that, beautiful archetype. So we're going to get into it more, but there's a couple people who I know. Let me call you out. Amy Catherine, Manal Sudani, and Micah Sage Tarot. Like, you all are the graphic designer, artist people that I know. And so when we talk about this book, I hope to have all 3 of them here for these, because these are the kinds of things they've taken pictures that you will find in museums. Like this one is Sagittarius from ancient Mesopotamian culture, an unknown artist of the 13th century. Okay, this is like the cross section of all geekiness, fine art, collections, symbology, astrology, the arcane, the mundane. It's just beautiful. So we are going to have a great time. This is an amazing time when we have affordable, accessible information like never before. And I intend to do my part to pass it on to others through this, and hopefully you'll discover a book that was new to you. Oh, here, this is a book that I found. I was in Washington State visiting my sister at the local library, visiting my sister, and I took her kids, my niece and nephew, to the local library, which they have a great library. Shout out to the librarians in their town. And I was looking for books on mythology for my niece because she's really into that. And this little book was sitting on the shelf, kind of just random. And I said that was there for me. And I knew I checked it out, had read it halfway before it was time for me to leave, dutifully returned the library book so that my sister would not get a fine and I would not get my librarian card revoked. And I immediately bought it. And then like two other people I know bought it because it was very, very beautiful story told from like the dolphins through this particular author. So that kind of is giving you a background of where we're going to be. Let me see if I can find something just to even read for us today. Let's see here. When we look at from the unified creator spirituality, the key term of consciousness says that at the universal or omniversal level, consciousness is the spirit given to a universe by the creator at its creation. At a personal level, our consciousness is a direct extension from our soul that carries our ego personality and mind with it into the physical body. Spirit at its root is the consciousness that exists throughout the omniverse. Spirit as conscious life force energy is one of the major original components as designed by the Supreme Creator. It expands and grows because spiritual energy is produced by all spiritual beings that have creator energy as their core essence. There's nowhere and nothing in this entire universe that isn't filled with consciousness. Consciousness is built into all the places that seem empty, all the smallest particles we can imagine, even in places we do not yet know exist. All right, so we are going to here she says, allow us to plant a seed of thought in your mind and see if you are not ready to allow it to take its roots and grow. It is time to expand the concept of unity consciousness. It is time for all races, religions, and cultures to seek a mutual cause or common ground. First, you must realize that the Creator manifests itself in a myriad of forms, from the greatest to the smallest. All is from the one creator and all is part of the one. Okay. So, I mean, we're going to talk about this kind of thing. Like, I'm not trying to send doctrine. We're going to talk about, okay, wow, creator, how's this resonate when we get into this particular book? It may not be the session for you. Hopefully it is. I'm always up to reading something, whether I think that I'm going to like it or not. I may not finish it because time is, important, but I'm definitely going to give it more than a couple pages to see. So if you have any questions, hey, Gooba, woo, hello, everyone. Thank you so much for showing up for this. We are definitely talking books. If you are an author, you want to join me in the future, drop me a DM, put it in the comments here. And next week or the week after, I think it's going to be twice a month, probably. We're going to tap in and I may do a poll and see if there's something that, you want to tap into, like, let's ask questions and see, what is mojo here? It says, finding my mojo. Okay, that's like something in our little group. We keep talking about losing our mojo. All right, so this is very interesting. We'll have to look into. This is written by a lot of different people for each of the chapters. So you see how easy it is to be able to get down into something when you open the pages of a book. So anyway, I am super excited that you showed up today. Thank you, everyone, and we will see you for more reads and seeds in the future. Be sure to tune back in on Wednesday this week because we've got In the Cards, and on Thursday is next Monday is Crystal Matchmaker's date night with some beautiful new crystals from the Southeast Asia area. So I'm very excited. I hope that you read well this week. Namaste.